The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We're presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the hosts. To my right is a man who is not fired by the Chicago Bears this week. Dustin, how are we doing tonight?
I guess I'm doing better than Shane Waldron. I can't say as a Seahawks fan I'm that surprised about this move. We know what Mr. Waldron is capable of, and something was going to happen with the Bears. I may get to it just a little later in the show, but despite the hour later, I am energized. I am ready to go. I'm excited to talk some football tonight with you and perhaps a special guest, but I'm going to cede the floor to you.
Perhaps, yes. Well, before we get into everything, we just want to remind you to please visit our social media pages, which are right here on screen. It's facebook.com/NoCardsREQ, Twitter, Instagram, the scarcely used TikTok @NoCardsREQ, youtube.com/@NoCardsREQ, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, iHeart, TuneIn, Pandora, and don't forget to get notified on Twitter, still refuse to call it X, and on YouTube to know when we're live, or we put up a video for it's pre-recorded, like this week's Three Rails Metro Hockey podcast, which was recorded on Sunday night, went up Monday. Fun time as always with Brian and Staniel Smooth. Always has a bit of a chaos to go with it, but that's okay. Engage the rate and review from the podcast side. A 5-star rating would be very, very helpful. Leave a review if you can on the podcast side, where if you have a platform where you can review the podcast. And also on Spotify, you can actually leave a comment. So leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review. They help every show. Tell a friend about the podcast too. And also, we're a live show on Tuesdays. We're usually at 7:05 Eastern, but today we had a little bit of a seminar thing going on, so we took care of it. We took care of things with that, but we're an hour later, which is fine. But we're a live show Tuesdays and Saturdays, sometimes Fridays if we decide to do a Friday show. But engage with the show. Leave a comment, and I know we're an hour late, Dustin, but I know this.
You know why I'm looking at the metaphorical watch I have on? Because it's chime time.
Chime time. And we got ourselves a couple comments already. One from Wako the saying, unsolicited opinion. You need a new front page photo, Ryan. Looking good, brother. Hi, all. Thanks, Wako. Yeah, I've been saying this for a while, so we both need definitely both need new profile pictures for a revamp of the intro. That's for sure. And our friend Julie from Michigan saying, hello, gentlemen. All right, let's bring in our special guest of the evening. But let me go ahead and just do we'll do a proper introduction, courtesy of our friend, Mr. Cole Johnson.
Now, forgive me not knowing the brother. You got your mic, but I don't know who the hell you are. It's like you're in the broadcasting witness protection program.
That's right, folks. He is the owner, the operator of the Playmakers blog. He runs a bunch of shows on his YouTube channel, which are really, really great. He's also a co-host of the Monarchs of Wrestling with another previous friend of the show, Mr. Cool McCain. He's also, if you notice in the comments on Saturday, he had a lot to say about Mr. Michael Jackson. He's a big fan. He recently had a birthday, so happy belated birthday to him. He is Mr. Playmaker, the Playmaker himself, Darnell Sallins. Mr. Playmaker, how are we doing tonight?
I should have known you misses. Cole Johnson for that intro. I should have known.
I did. I said, Mr. Johnson, sir, good morning to you. Do you have
Hey.
the element you made a long time ago for Mr. Playmaker? He says, I sure do.
He with a smile on his face, that evil scientist smile. I know that, man. But yes, it is good to make my debut on No Credits Required.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, man. We're glad you could join us tonight and to talk some NFL, primarily some NFL, but maybe we'll dovetail into other topics as well. But we're gonna get things started. I know you're a big Ram fan, LA Rams fan. Maybe you'll go into that a little bit more. Maybe we go in on them a little bit more after last night's performance. But let's start off. We usually have our regular topics for the Tuesday show. We're going to start off with the most entertaining game, and let's talk about the most entertaining game of Week 10. Playmaker, I'm going to start with you, man. What in your mind was the most entertaining game of Week 10 in the NFL?
You have a couple of choices here, but I'm going to go with Sunday Night Football. It is remarkable that Jared Goff can throw 5 interceptions and the Detroit Lions still can find a way to win that game. It just blows my mind. He was on this historic streak of completion percentages and touchdown to incompletion. Then he finally had that bad game. But Houston just couldn't take advantage of the turnovers.
It was a sloppy game.
They just couldn't take advantage of turnovers. And Ryan doesn't watch football for a long time. When you have a good team on the ropes and you don't put them out, what happens?
They come back.
You lose.
You lose. Yeah. You lose, and B, they stay up. You gotta yell at them like Chris Jericho used to do to his opponents when you yell, "Stay down."
So the Houston Texans, sorry, Cole Johnson, they didn't put Detroit out of their misery with 5 turnovers. So, but yeah, that was an entertaining game to see them come back from 5 turnovers to win that game.
Yeah, that's definitely an entertaining game. Dustin, how about you? What's the most entertaining? I'm sorry, that's not disappointment. I want the most entertaining game. Jeez, wrong banner. So I'm so enthused about Playmaker being here.
Yes, you're discombobulated. You're vibrating with excitement. Well, I have to say my most entertaining game, and candidly, I like to be real with everybody on this show. So I missed a good chunk of the 1:00 games because I took my dad to a show that, as part of his Christmas present, saw some rescue dogs do some pretty crazy stuff. My dad really loves dogs, so he really enjoyed it. But I did catch up because I do my homework when I can, and the 4:00 games were turds. There was nothing in there. But I have to say, we know how to pick them, Ryan, because the games that we had our eye on both ended up being good games. I'm going Washington Commanders versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the Steelers, nobody's really talking about them. I mean, not to the level that they're talking about some of the other teams, but the Steelers are the real deal. Their defense is good enough now. The defense limited Jaden Daniels to the degree that he can be limited. He had what I would characterize as probably one of his worst games as a pro. And part of it is Brian Robinson was out. He's the main runner in that backfield. So it was up to Austin Eckler and Jeremy McNichols to generate a rushing attack, and they did a serviceable job. The two teams went back and forth. But the Steelers, I mean, you can't argue, and people are going to say I'm biased because I'm a Seahawks fan, but Russ isn't as washed as we think he was. And also, the other thing is he seems like somewhat revitalized in Pittsburgh. And I never thought I'd say this, but it makes me like root for the Steelers a little bit, just to kind of twist the knife into Sean Payton and the Broncos for that ridiculous fiasco of benching him for Jarrett Stidham. We all know that was a contract thing, but still, it irks me. But the other thing is George Pickens makes Russell Wilson look better than he is. George Pickens is corkscrewing his body in all sorts of directions to catch these Russell Wilson's passes. It's unbelievable. The Steelers' backfield is doing enough with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, who was featured a little bit more in this game. But that Steelers defense is the real deal. And if they keep playing like this, they're going to be tough to beat. The game went down to the wire. The Steelers were going to try to go for it on 4th down to kill some clock. And unfortunately, a player for the Commanders, he jumped off sides and they didn't have to go for it. They got that first down, and that ended the hope that the Commanders had to win the game. I found that game very entertaining, and it was between two good teams. And apologies to Dan Campbell, because I thought his coaching debut in Washington was going to be bad, but proven as he did with the Dallas Cowboys defense a few years ago, and he did with the Atlanta Falcons when he first got there, he's turning that team around. We'll see how it goes a couple seasons in, but for now, I got to apologize to Dan Campbell. He did a great job.
Russell Wilson has opened up that offense.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Hats off to Justin Fields, because he got him there in the beginning of the season, but the offense looks different with Russell Wilson. I don't think anybody can argue that.
And that big dummy on the Commanders. He ain't the only one that made a bonehead decision with the game on the line.
Yeah. No, it was – I want to get both your takes on it. And Ryan, especially because you haven't really gotten to say much this episode so far, but it felt like a sloppy week of football overall to me. I don't know if you guys agree with me or what your thoughts are on it. But overall, this was not one of the best weeks in the NFL.
No, actually, it was Brent from 1420 podcast. He actually put up a poll on Twitter about the quality of the product on the field for the NFL, and he wanted you to grade it 8 to 10 if you score 10, if you score anywhere. I think it was like A, B plus, B minus. I'll look it up, but he had a very interesting. I'll look it up, the poll right now. A very interesting poll, and let me find it amongst his reach. Oh, here it is. Rate the NFL product on the field. And the choices were 1 to 4, between a score of 1 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8 to 10. And 72%, 73%, run it off, said 5 to 7. So right now, like you said, the product is a little bit at times. I mean, maybe it was just a bad week, like you said, Dustin, because there were a lot of sloppy games. Like Lions, my pick of the week for most entertaining game was Lions and Texans, like Playmaker, because it's 7 interceptions between two of the best quarterbacks who are top 5, top 10, maybe top 5 in the league, throwing collectively 7 interceptions, 5 of them by Jared Goff. I think he had like 5 incompletions over the last 3 games before that point. So it was just crazy that this week, I mean, I'll look at the scores. Thursday's game, which usually Thursday games aren't that great, but this week was a banger, absolute banger. But then you had Panthers and Giants, which was low scoring, went to overtime. That was in Germany. Germany was treated to that kind of mess. Patriots Bears was awful. Bills Colts was a blowout, and the Colts only made it respectable because they scored a last second touchdown. Chiefs Broncos turned into a defensive game. 49ers Buccaneers was pretty entertaining. So was Steelers Commanders. Vikings Jaguars. Good God.
Oh yeah, that was
like you mentioned. The 3 games in the afternoon were absolute garbage, and Monday night's game was just.
And all of a sudden, the Jaguar fans started to miss Trevor Lawrence.
You got yourself some mac and cheese Jones out there. We'll talk about the Vikings defense in just a moment. But yeah, my entertaining game of the week was, amongst a lot of the clangers out there, there were a couple of bangers. Lions, Texans being one of them. And Lions, you talk about Dan Quinn, being he's the coach of the Commanders. We talked about the 20. There's a notorious 28-3 score in the Super Bowl, but the Lions, the Lions were against the ropes at one point. They were down 23-7 at the half, and then the Lions defense, God bless them, pitches a shutout. pitch a shutout in the third and fourth quarters to limit the Texans, and that's a pretty tough thing to do. I mean, I know my Jets did kind of the same thing on the Thursday night before, but I said that's why I would pick that game as the game to highlight on Saturday's show, because this is two good top teams, two pretty good teams, arguably conference contenders, could be Super Bowl. We could see them in Super Bowl in New Orleans in a few months. We could. I don't know if we will, but we could. And to see that lead evaporate has to be demoralizing for Texans fans, but also at the same time, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, like our friend Julie from Michigan saying, eat an extra kneecap in honor of Dan Campbell.
Well, and how about he was getting interviewed by the sideline reporter coming out of the half, and he's like, our defense has to generate turnovers, and then somebody picked off a pass immediately. It was hilarious.
Yeah, Chris Conner couldn't believe it.
I know. But I mean, I hesitate to agree with Collinsworth, but he's right. What are the odds of that? It's like they spoke it into existence.
Now here's a guy. All right, we're going to move on from the most entertaining game to the biggest upset of the week. Dustin, I'll have you lead off here. In your mind, what was the biggest upset in Week 10?
Well, again, we're looking at how the sausage is made, and I swear, Playmaker, I didn't do this just because you're on the show.
Oh no,
but
please do.
I knew that Ryan was going to pick the game that he was going to pick, because we were texting about it, and up until Monday night, it to me was like the clear candidate. But then Monday night happened. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how the Rams outrushed the Dolphins. They outpassed them. They barely led in time of possession. The difference was negligible, but they led. But they shot themselves in the foot. Matt Stafford in 50 starts with the Rams. This is either his first or second game where he hasn't thrown an offensive touchdown. They just seemed out of sync. They kind of shot themselves in the foot with the fumbles. They only lost one of the 3 fumbles, but those fumbles kind of killed their drives. It was just kind of self-inflicted wounds. And the Dolphins' defense had been terrible this year. The offense looks notably better with Tua on the field. We all know that. But the Dolphins' defense had underperformed, and they were able to limit Kyren Williams to, 62 yards rushing? It was just surprising, especially with the way the two teams had been trending. The Dolphins had played better in recent weeks since Tua returned, but they couldn't close out games. Conversely, the Rams had gotten very hot, where I'm saying, okay, the Seahawks are going to get dusted in the division because the Cardinals are doing what they're doing. The Niners are going to get right, and the Rams are getting right now. I was like, the Seahawks are going to finish dead last. It's over. But then the Rams come out and they do this. The Rams had all the momentum coming into this game, and for them to lose it to the Dolphins, it just shocked me. I don't know how else to say it. Because, Playmaker and I, we're fans of teams in the NFC West. Ergo, we watch a lot of NFC West football. The Rams, especially coached under Sean McVay, they don't really lay eggs like that. It's very uncharacteristic of the team.
I could go this route, but I do believe that y'all have a spot for most disappointment, so I'm gonna save it for that. Far as upset, let's go to the Big Easy, shall we? The Saints got one back on the Atlanta Falcons. You just gotta love the NFC South. You just gotta love the NFC South. Never fails. Kirk talking about quarterbacks who normally doesn't go games without throwing a touchdown pass. Kirk Cousins didn't throw a touchdown pass in New Orleans. Threw for 300 yards, but didn't throw a touchdown pass. And you lost to an interim head coach because after losing to Carolina, they said, Dennis, you got to go. You got to go. You can't not be losing to Carolina. Surprisingly, Brian Daboll kept his job. But yeah, Saints came out there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Oh man, who
Just
saw
signed
that coming?
3 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. What a debut for you in the big city of New Orleans. And for the Falcons, you wasted Bijan Robinson, probably best game of the season. 20 carries, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So Raheem Morris, and those of you know I'm a Rams fan, so I have a special spot for Raheem Morris. You got to look yourself in the mirror. Your team got to look yourself in the mirror. Y'all got to pick yourself back up. Because you didn't put away the Saints, which means, surprisingly, Tampa Bay is still alive.
It's true, they are. It's true. Because that's how you said, that's how the NFC rolls. NFC South rolls.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, my biggest upset this week. For some reason I don't know what it is. Playmaker and I have the same mind right now. Yeah, I also picked Saints and Falcons. Yeah, I like Dustin said, going behind the wall here. I was texting him while he was at his show. I said, "Yep, the Falcons look like they are currently the leading candidate for the biggest upset and biggest disappointment in my mind this week." And the new coach bump
because the undefeated team decided to block a field goal.
Yeah, but the new coach bump, it sometimes it works with teams, sometimes it don't. Looking at you, New York Jets, but this week it did. The new coach bump worked for the Saints with their new coach, Rizzi. I can't remember his first name, but I want to say Steve Rizzi, but I could be wrong. Yeah, they scored on nearly every drive in the first half. They lost it on downs in their first drive. Then they scored a field goal. Then they had those 2 touchdowns from Derek Carr to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they kneeled it into the half. Almost flawless first half. They hung out a little bit in the end, but their defense came up with a big turnover. Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr had a good game for once after coming back from injury. Alvin Kamara passed Mark Ingram for all-time leader in rushing yards for the Saints. And the defense managed not to bleed all over the place. They bled yards. Look at the time of possession here. Time of possession was about 35 minutes to 24 and change. The Falcons had nearly 100 yards more than the Saints, but the Saints wound up getting the win because they put more points on the board. Their defense played bend but don't break. They got a key turnover towards the end of the game. They got a key turnover in the game. That's just the only turnover in the game. And the Saints did their thing. The Saints had the upset. So gotta give credit where credit's due. They got off the 7-game losing streak. They're currently 3-7. They're among the list of a lot of teams who are currently in the top 10 of draft order right now, but we still have 8 weeks to go in the season to find out who's going to get that all-important number 1 through number 10. So it's going to be an interesting next 8 weeks, especially in the NFC South, because we talked about the NFC South. I had Tampa Bay in first. Dustin had the Atlanta Falcons finishing first. I had New Orleans finishing last. So that NFC South is going to be an interesting watch the next 8 weeks. That's for sure. All right, we're going to move on to the biggest disappointment of the week, and I will go first for this one. It's not who you think. I'll address these 2 teams at the end. My New York Jets have sucked the football loving soul out of me. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, dovetailing from biggest upset to biggest disappointment, the Atlanta Falcons were the biggest disappointment of the week. And all those yards, they're winning 5 out of 6 games. They're coming into the Big Easy. They're playing a team that has lost 7 in a row, just fired their head coach. They got an interim coach, but they're playing that team of the coach just got fired and nobody believes in us. They got the big bump. And as I mentioned, Falcons had nearly 100 more yards and nearly 11 more minutes in time of possession. They just couldn't put points on the board. And that's a team who was rolling. It was coming into this game and they were rolling. They were absolutely on a roll. they just couldn't do it against the Saints. So sorry, Saints, or sorry, Falcons. I'm not mad, just disappointed. So, how about you, Playmaker? Biggest disappointment. I have a feeling. You're going to cook on this one.
Going. Matthew Stafford and the Rams offense. How you shoot yourself in the foot so many times is unbelievable to watch on national television. Defense, you have a young defense, and the defense has been very optimistic in turning people over. You mean our buddy Drew Willingham, he loves Gardner Minshew. You turn him over 4 times.
Uncle Rico.
You turn him over 4 times. Dustin, you watched the game against the Seahawks. Turned Geno Smith over 3 times.
Yeah. Geno was not looking good that game.
Defense come in, they get an interception. Christian Roseman, he gets you in the red zone, by the way. He got you down to the 14-yard line, and Karen Williams, a very nice play, you throwing the ball right back to the Dolphins. 4 plays later, Gerald Verse, strip sack, fumble recovery, the triple play on Tua Tagovailoa. You got the ball at the Miami 36-yard line. Guess what? You get back in the red zone, you have to kick a field goal. 8.5. You finna kick a field goal. You finna trim the lead down to 10-9 in favor of the Miami Dolphins. But 52-yarder goes in, but false start, go back 5 yards, and then Josh Carty misses the field goal. Dolphins turn into a touchdown, and all of a sudden that's a 10-point swing in favor of the Dolphins. Like, how many opportunities y'all had to win this game because of the defense, but y'all kept shooting yourselves in the foot? It doesn't make any sense. Matthew Stafford, for some odd reason, which is probably the play that ended the game for us, misses Kyron Williams wide open for a touchdown.
That doesn't happen. He doesn't miss throws like that.
I'm just like, this is what is the offense? See, I can't even blame Sean McVay because Sean McVay called the plays that were working.
Yeah.
The offense didn't execute the plays. What are we doing here? So
yeah, they didn't. Like I said, I was shocked, and we got a comment from Staniel Smooth in the chat. He says the Rams almost never lose that game. He's a fellow Seahawks fan. He's seen enough of the division. He knows, like, they just don't lose games like that, especially in the Sean McVay era. Even when the Seahawks were doing well under Pete Carroll, before things started to go just a little bit south, Sean McVay and the Rams always played them tough. And, even when the Rams were at their worst, they were always a tough opponent for the Seahawks to play. I haven't seen a game like that for the Rams in a very long time. They should have dusted this Dolphins team.
So it's very frustrating to see that my offense didn't come through. While I have a young defense that's been very optimistic.
Yeah, they've been great, and I was wrong about them in the beginning of the season. In the beginning of the season, I said, they losing Aaron Donald's going to be too much for them. Stafford's getting older. The offense isn't going to be what it has been. And I was wrong. And I was afraid of, like I said, the Rams were getting hot. They were getting hot at the right time. And I'm shocked. I'm shocked about this. I don't know what went on with that team, but I mean, at least I was going to have to try to pick the Patriots beating the Bears, but I don't think the Bears are going anywhere. So I was just going to pick a different game for the sake of picking a different game than what Ryan picked as his biggest upset. But here we are. So I'm with you. I'm disappointed, and I'm not even a fan of the team. I should be rooting for the Rams to lose, but when you see a team lose like that, it's my mouth was agape. And I guess, with that, we'll move to the next category, even though so it was biggest disappointment. And actually, I didn't say who my biggest disappointment was yet. So I'm going to say that Jared Goff, and everybody's going to look at me, and people in the comments are going to say, hey, why are you picking Jared Goff? Because he's a victim of his own success. That's why. He's a victim of his own success. And, as Ryan pointed out, he's been so good. He's been so good that nobody expected Jared Goff to go out and have the game that he had. 5 interceptions. That's more than he threw all the previous games combined in the seasons. He's had games where he went perfect. He went 19 of 19 during the Seahawks game. He didn't even have an incompletion on Monday Night Football. That was crazy. So he has been on a roll that is unbelievable. And he throws 5 picks. One of them was a Hail Mary right before the half. That doesn't count. People throw picks on Hail Marys all the time. But the other throws were just bad throws. He was just missing throws. And his completion percentage, he was 15 of 30. He only hit 50% of his passes, which we've come to expect a different standard from Jared Goff now. So it's just crazy to me. But as Daniel points out, still won. That's why the Detroit Lions, they're a tough team, because a game like this builds character throughout the season. This will be a game where Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff, they can all turn and they can say, hey, we're not out of this. If the Lions are getting beat, they can say, hey, we're not out of this. Just keep trucking. We'll get it done. And special shout out to Jake Bates kicking those field goals, but they were by the thinnest of margins making it in there. But that's why Jared Goff didn't expect him to play a game like this.
Yep. Julie from Michigan saying, but Jake Bates, though. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Actually, Playmaker, we've got an audience question for you specifically.
Mm-hmm.
From Daniel Smooth. He's asking, question for Darnell. Is a burger a sandwich? If so, why?
You gotta love Staniel Smooth. We haven't had it. We gotta have Staniel on the show soon again, because he always comes with some heat.
I guess technically you can consider it a sandwich, because it is a sandwich in between 2 breads, so technically you can. But I figure most people won't even think of it like that.
I would say yes, because I've actually been to restaurants where they serve it between 2 pieces of toasted bread. Rotier's in Nashville is one of those places.
Yeah, you gotta. What is it called? There's a name for that sandwich. The patty melt, Ryan. I think that's the patty melt.
Patty melt. Yep. So yeah,
no, this was just straight up burger, lettuce, ketchup.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's considered a sandwich.
With some hash brown casserole and a Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, it's just most people won't even think of it.
Yeah, they think of it as 2 separate things. I'm with you there.
Right. And then there's that whole debate about hot dogs being sandwiches and this and that.
I can't abide by that.
Oh, technically it's meat and bread, but I don't know. I'm neutral on the subject. So, all right, let's get into the comments before we take a quick break. Wonko saying, welcome, Playmaker, to you. Yeah. Julie from Michigan saying that the Lions-Texans game took years off her life.
I believe it. I
believe that too. Sick Diggy, our European contingent of the Cred Heads, Sick Diggy joining us from Norway, saying good evening, good afternoon, good night, good evening, good night, good afternoon, good morning, and good afternoon. I also said the rookie DL for the Commanders was Johnny Newton.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I also said Wonko saying Moonball is back.
It is. Russell's throwing those moonballs again.
Here it is. Wonko's also asking, was there a big upset this week? Tough pick, in my humble opinion.
Oh, we almost had one.
Yeah, that would have been huge. And Ryan, you called that. You said I have my eye on the Broncos defense against the Chiefs.
I did. I said, I wonder how they're going to – they almost pull up the upset. And then as Daniel Smooth says, you mean the script writers blocked a field goal, the Kansas City Taylor Swifties, the KC Swifts, the most bandwagon teams in the NFL.
I'm gonna go a step further. I actually posted this on my social media page. I don't know if y'all saw it. After that, I'm like, the Kansas City Chiefs must be God's team, because how in the world they keep finding ways to win?
It's unbelievable. And I almost, no joke, for my hot take of the week, it's not this, but I almost put the Kansas City Chiefs are officially peak Patriots right now. They are the new Patriots. It's the team that nobody wants to win, and they're outside of the fans of that team, and they're still figuring out how to do it. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, as I mentioned on Saturday, they're not the Cobra Kai Patriots of 2007, where they absolutely ran roughshod over everybody.
No,
they find ways to win.
Yep,
can't argue with that. Wonko's Sallins Smooth wants to ask me how much you want to bet Aaron Rodgers retires after this season. We'll talk about that. Foreshadowing. Wonko's saying my biggest disappointment with the Bengals. He's a Bengals fan. It was a Bengals failure in a maybe save the season game. Lamar Jackson for MVP though. I'll say Derrick Henry for MVP, but he didn't have a great game on. He didn't have a great game on Thursday, but Lamar Jackson did.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Al chiming in, Dustin, saying, if you change your Jets affiliation from New York to Winnipeg, you'll be happier. Listen, I'm sure they're putting a whooping on your Rangers right now there, Al.
Oh man, little
real-time
research going on right now.
Yeah, it's 3-2 at the end of the second. So as we record. So and my Devils are up 1-0 on the Panthers. Yes, let's go. Let's go. Nice bounce back game. Stan also says, get my ass on there soon, lads. So we have to have Mr. Stanley Smooth come on the show again.
What about the rest of you?
Yeah, what about
I'll see myself out. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you will. Go. He also says, I knew someone who told me that pizza is considered an open face sandwich. I almost lost my damn mind. I almost banished him to the shadow realm. He also says, I hate this planet sometimes. Send me to Mars. You and Elon.
Oh, man. Yeah. Elon.
I mean,
he's going to put a big X logo on Mars when he gets there.
Did you guys ever watch The Tick? The cartoon The Tick growing up?
I never watched it regularly, but I remember who voiced that character. It's David Puddy himself. That's why I remember that one. Patrick Warburton.
He did the live action.
Okay.
He did the live action, but I'm talking about the animated series. I'm the reason why you say he's going to put the X logo on Mars, because I remember one episode where it was a guy who was completely insane, bought a giant laser to write his name on the moon. And in every episode afterwards to the end of the series, it just had CHA on the moon wherever you saw a moonshot. Wherever you saw a moonshot. So when you say he's going to put a big old X logo on the moon, I believe that. Oh boy. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of what intrigued us in week 10 of the NFL. So stay tuned for more No Credentials Required with our guy, the Playmaker. Stay tuned, folks. Stand by. Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, we can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets. That's right, folks. Our affiliate sponsor for this episode with Belly Up Sports is SeatGeek, and Dustin's got a little bit of a testimonial to share about that promo code. So why don't you go ahead and share with us?
Well, future casting, Ryan and I will be going to a local hockey game this weekend. We're going up to see the Adirondack Thunder play, and our friend Kenny's going with us, and he sent a screenshot of the arena to me and said, are these tickets good? I sent it to Ryan because he's more of the expert. He's been to the arena more than I have in that area. I sent it to Ryan, and then Ryan said, make sure he uses the promo code, because I didn't recognize that the screenshot was from SeatGeek, but upon further examination, I realized that it was. And once again, my astute leader of the show here, he was right. Encyclopedia Britannica, as I like to call him. So I then texted our friend and I said, hey, use this promo code. And he texts back, it worked with exclamation points. So we saved a little scratch, and we would advise you to do the same, whether it be for a live hockey game, which we will be attending, or comedy shows, or musical acts, anything that you can buy a ticket to. SeatGeek's got your back. Use the promo code. You're going to get $20 off. And proceed on your way. Save a little scratch, because we all know those concession stand prices, parking, all the stuff around it adds up. Save yourself some cash. Use SeatGeek. Use the promo code. You're going to like it. I guarantee it.
I got nothing else to say. Thank you, SeatGeek, for being a premier sponsor with Belly Up Sports. Again, $20 off your order of $50 or more for your tickets. All right, let's talk about the most notable performance or performances this week in Week 10 of the NFL. Dustin, I'm gonna actually, you know what, Playmaker, we'll lead off with you. In your mind, in Week 10 of the NFL, what was the most impressive performance or performances in this week?
Thursday night, both quarterbacks. Like, let's just think about this. In the two meetings between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens, we're talking about these guys combining for like, if I remember correctly, like 16 touchdowns, like no interception or one interception. They both had tremendous games. I mean, Joe Burrow threw for 420. Lamar Jackson was just under 300 on Thursday's game.
280.
So. Like, these two guys in both games just was on point passing the football. So I'm going to give it to the quarterbacks of the Thursday night football on this one.
So I don't know. You probably watched. You did watch our Saturday broadcast, Playmaker. Did you hear that stat I mentioned about Joe Burrow?
I think I missed that.
Okay. So I found this on OptaStats. It was on Twitter. It says it wrote, whoever wrote the account, who runs the account, wrote that there have been 2 instances in NFL history where a quarterback has had 30 plus completions, 300 plus passing yards, 4 plus touchdown passes, multiple 40 plus yard TD passes, no more than 1 interception, and still lost. That quarterback was Joe Burrow. Week 5, and on this past Thursday night.
It's insane. And both times it was against the Ravens, wasn't it?
Both times it was against the Ravens, yeah. Week 5 and Week 10.
So
it's insane.
It's like we shocked at how Jared Goff looked. Both of these quarterbacks was just in 2 games. You would think at the second game around, okay, defense gonna make some adjustments. Can't stop neither one.
Nope. But Zach Taylor might not have a job up at the end of the season if the Bengals don't pick things up soon, losing all those close games. My goodness, Dustin, how about you? Who was the most? Who impressed you the most this week in the NFL?
Well, I'm going to the same game that Playmaker did. Playmaker knows his football, so I'm following suit. Except I'm going to give it to Jamar Chase, because I was watching on Sunday, especially in the afternoon games. And I was watching on Monday and Sunday night, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, is anybody going to be able to replicate what Jamar Chase did, or do something that is so notable that it supersedes what Jamar Chase did? And the answer is a resounding no. Jamar Chase, 11 receptions, 264 receiving yards. That was some team's total offense this week. I'm telling you, it was crazy. And he had 3 touchdowns. Part of the reason that Joe Burrow looks so good in that game is because he and Jamar Chase have a mind meld. When Jamar Chase is on the field, Joe Burrow is a different quarterback, because he knows that he can chuck it, and he knows that Jamar Chase knows exactly where he's trying to throw the ball, and Jamar Chase is going to be there. It doesn't help. It helps too that Jamar Chase is a different athlete. Do you remember? Do either of you remember a couple of years ago he had some drops early in his career, and people were saying, "Oh, it's because It's because the stripe is not on the ball in the NFL. He's used to the stripe or the college ball. It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard because Jamar Chase, the Bengals are going to have to pay that man his money.
Yeah. I mean, Jamar Chase scored more points than 11 teams this week.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous. That's crazy. All right, my most notable performance. I'm going to flip to the other side of the ball, gentlemen. I'm going to go with the defensive unit here. Let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings defensive unit. Granted, they were playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Granted, they were playing against Mac Jones. Remember him? Neither do I. Until this game, apparently.
I don't have no choice. He's from Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's from Jacksonville. Taking over for Trevor Lawrence, who was injured in this before this game. Minnesota's defense sacked him 3 times. They forced 3 turnovers overall, including 2 interceptions from Jones. Gave up 10 total first downs. Forced 3 3-and-outs. And allowed a total. Jamar Chase had more yards receiving than the Jacksonville Jaguars had all game long.
Mm-hmm.
The 140, Jamar Chase had 64 yards receiving. The Jacksonville Jaguars had 143 yards total
on offense.
of offense. And they still, and the Vikings still only managed to win by 5.
That Sam Darnold starting to see ghosts again.
Because Sam Darnold is starting to be the Sam Darnold we all know and love.
Yeah, he threw those 3 picks and he was going to Justin Jefferson all 3 times, wasn't he? On all of them, I think.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Hey, give a shout out to Baker though. He has the favorite play of the week for me.
Oh man, that stiff arm.
Man.
That's
Nick Bosa that's grabbing you.
Yeah.
That wasn't just any defensive player.
Chugging along. That was on a 4th down too, wasn't it?
Yes, it was fucked out. They had to have it.
Oh man, crazy. All right, next, our last category of the night. How about the highest individual take from Week 10 of the NFL? And Playmaker, let's start off with you. What's your hottest individual take following Week 10 in the NFL?
Despite the fact the Rams looked like hot garbage on Monday night, the division is still wide open. You already beat the 49ers. You already beat the Seattle Seahawks. Now you did get your behinds kicked in Arizona Week 2. But the division's still there. At some point, Arizona going to get caught. We don't expect Arizona to keep this going. Kyler Murray going to come back to Kyler Murray at some point. But, Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, y'all have little room for error now. You got New England. You need to win that game, and you need to take it seriously. You got Philadelphia on Sunday night. So you have one game before you're right back on prime time. Get yourself a couple of dubs before you got to see the Bills in Week 14. And we know what happened the last time the Bills came to LA.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? We're not dead. Despite how disgusted I was.
Despite his disgust, he is still believes in the Rams. All right, Dustin. How about you? Hottest individual takeaway from Week 10?
Well, it's been we've been talking about quarterbacks a lot this show. We've chopped it up. My hottest take of the week is Playmaker. What's your favorite Michael Jackson song, and how come it's not "Who Is It"? No, I'm joking. My hottest take of the week is the hate on Caleb Williams has gone a little too far. And I know I'm going to sound like a massive defender, but the standard for rookie quarterbacks has changed, and he is getting badly outplayed right now by Jaden Daniels. He's getting outplayed by Drake May. The New England fans are exercising the demons from the Mac Jones era because Drake May looks like he may be the real deal. Even Bo Nix, aka Ferris Bueller, if you listen to Sean Payton talk about him, he's starting to put it together. So when you go into that, when you see the way the rest of the quarterback class is performing, you're thinking Caleb Williams isn't it. Somebody posted, yes, Caleb Williams is regressing, and his best games of the season were against the Panthers and another team who's not too hot that I can't remember.
Oh, I know.
Oh, which who was the other team?
We got darn week 4 we walked in the Soldier Field. Caleb actually looked like a quarterback. Jeez.
That's right. I forgot about that. But I knew he, his one of his best games against the Panthers, and you're saying, okay, he's supposed to do that. So he is regressing a little bit. But here's the thing. Somebody posted as a dig at Caleb Williams, they posted the numbers and they said, oh, Bears offense looks eerily similar. Those numbers, they're nearly identical to when Justin Fields was in there, and their record was actually better last year. Well, guess what? You know what that indicates to me? It's a systemic problem. It's a problem within the Bears. It's not on Caleb, because who's the common denominator? Now, I know the GM that drafted Justin Williams Justin Fields, rather, is long gone. But guess who's not gone? Matt Eberflus. And Eberflus is losing this team. You can't put it all on Caleb Williams. He's going to have ups and downs. He's a rookie, and he's getting outperformed by the other guys that were drafted in his QB class. That's why, and he's the number 1 pick, so he's got the pressure. The spotlight is on him. But the quote, Goodwill Hunting, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I would say this. Caleb needs to realize at some point, what you did in college is that going to work in the NFL. Yeah,
the windows are smaller. He does need to realize that. He thinks that he can get it in the windows that are much smaller in the NFL. I will agree with you on that, Playmaker.
Caleb, it's okay to throw the ball out of bounds to live another down.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yep. So some of it is on him, but a lot of it is on Coach Flus. Am I ever going to let him live that down? No.
I'll go to the front office, but that's a story for another day.
Front office, ownership, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But would you say that Shane Waldron got loosed?
Yeah. Yes. But like I said, as a Seahawks fan, that's the least surprising move. Like talk about, well, he was on the Rams previously. That's why Russ wanted him, because he thought that Shane Waldron had the magic as opposed to Sean McVay. Guess what? Sean McVay is the real deal. Shane Waldron, no.
Ridiculous. All right, my hottest individual takeaway from Week 10: Metro New York football is a hot, flaming ball of a dumpster fire on railroad tracks. A dumpster fire, a train wreck full of dumpster fires that no one else can take their eyes off of them. So the Maras, God rest their souls, you got 4 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowls, you got 4 Super Bowl titles, got numerous NFL championships before that. But they obviously overpaid Daniel Jones, made a big mistake of overpaying Daniel Jones and letting Saquon Barkley walk out the door to your division rival. We saw the fact that Daniel Jones, they thought it was going to be a comeback here. Like 2022 was an aberration. Let's face it. 2023, you saw what was happening with him. Now we're in 2024. Somehow he's still a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I'm waiting for Drew Lock's season if I'm a Giants fan. And after this season, gotta come loose. Take all that money, dead cap it, release him, eat him into the sun, do something with him. Meanwhile, my New York Jets, continue to disappoint me in ways that I just are unfathomable to me. I had so much hope coming into this season. I've talked about this numerous weeks. We stopped recording Victory Monday because of how awful this team is. Neither of us wanted to see this happen. We were hoping for a Super Bowl. Yes, I'm blunt. I was sold a lie again by this team. I don't know what it is with the Johnson brothers, why they're too busy playing fantasy football and not putting a good product on the field. And this is affecting both fans, both fan bases, the Metro New York area. Neither team seems to care about winning at all. And I'll tell you why, because most of this, look, a lot of the way that these teams in the NFL get paid, it's not through ticket sales. It's not a gate-driven league like the NHL, like the CFL, like some of these leagues are. Almost all the revenue is based on television contracts. All right. So if they don't sell tickets, whatever. If MetLife is empty, not a big deal. Not a big deal. The hardcores will go because they spent so much money on their season tickets. But if they try to sell those tickets off, those values start to diminish, and they diminish fast. I mean, I can probably look at SeatGeek right now. Promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, $20 off, $50 or more. If you go to SeatGeek.com right now, if you're going to a Jets game on Sunday, again, this is the week that they flexed that week. It was supposed to be a night game. Now it's a 1:00 game. No one's going to go. No one's going to go. I can guarantee you the top level, the 300 seats, are probably going somewhere between $25 and $35. In fact, you know what? Let's do some real-time research. Let's go to SeatGeek.
I get a real-time research. Yes.
Let's do the real-time research. Check out the New York Jets.
I have to say, and I know it's been a tough season for you, but I say this with all seriousness, Ryan. I was legitimately concerned for Dan's health if you continued recording Victory Monday.
You and me both, and we're still texting back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes, the lowest seat, the value with the lowest seats so you can get in section 348, row 25, which is almost near the top of the stadium in the corner of the end zone. $23 each.
Wow.
And I believe that's including fees.
I'm gonna be there with my brother-in-law December 1st when they take on the Seattle Seahawks. And the way both teams are playing right now, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna be.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm pretty sure me and Justin had the same feeling watching the Cardinals did what they did to the Jets.
There will be a lot more. It'll be like the game we went to back in 2016, Dustin. There'll be more Seahawks fans in that stadium than Jets fans. Guarantee you that. And like I said, this is gonna diminish the value of season tickets going forward for people who are suckered into buying tickets for both these teams. You're already seeing the value diminishing right now. Like I said, $23 for row 25 in section 348 at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
For 2 tickets for Sunday's game against the Colts.
That's just
so you're losing fans. You're making fans apathetic towards your team. They're not enthusiastic like myself, like Dan in Florida. We're both apathetic. We had so much hope going in this season, and all of a sudden just can't find your way. And I don't care. I mean, look, I was enthused about Aaron Rodgers, and actually Daniel Smooth asked me if he's going to retire at the end of the season. Yeah, after this disaster of a season, might as well. I mean, that money will still be in the books for the Jets and the salary cap next year. It'll just be dead cap money. But fans are starting to care less. Fans won't watch. Fans won't go to games because neither of your franchises, your ownership doesn't care. Your ownership doesn't care about putting a good product on the field. Now, granted, both these teams, look, they're defenses that can play. And although Sunday the Jets defense softer than Sharman on Sunday. I can't say much about that. Can't say that about the Giants because they at least made it look like a game. Mm-hmm. Unless Daniel Jones is on the field, at least their defense tried their best.
Yeah,
but neither of these teams are putting their best effort. None of these franchises are putting their best foot forward to try to put a good product in the field. It's all about what's happening in media, what's happening on the back pages of the tabloids, of the Daily News, and the New York Post, all about the back page. But right now, you're not getting. My enthusiasm for football has diminished greatly because the New York Jets are just that bad, and I'm pretty sure Giants fans are feeling the same way about their team. So
it is amazing how the city of New York and the city of Dallas are going through the same exact thing.
Oh, yeah.
At least we can't blame the sun.
Yeah, yeah, you got to put curtains up. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than what Marcus Parsons did. Good gracious.
Yeah. But and I do have to ask you, Ryan, because I don't want to be twisting the knife, but you and our buddy Scott are the Jets fans that I know, and you both watch a lot of the games. You're both very knowledgeable about it. But to me, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that Davante Adams would look less engaged with the Jets than he did with the Raiders, I would have been shocked. Because to me, he looks totally checked out. I mean, what do you think about it?
Honestly, I think he's still hurt.
Yeah,
I think he's still hurt.
Could be.
I think there's a lot of guys in this team that are hurting right now, not just in the inside, but like physically. If Davante Adams, we know about his hamstring troubles before he came over to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is probably playing hurt. I know the offensive line's been playing hurt. On the defensive side, we don't know what happened with Sauce Gardner. He's not Sauce. Took away his name. He's no longer Sauce Gardner. He's now Ahmad Gardner.
Yeah. People
I don't know what's going on with him anymore. Why he can't tackle? Why all of a sudden he can't tackle?
He doesn't have the sauce anymore.
And there were some fans who were begging the Jets to trade him at the trade deadline. Like, for what value? For what value? I just think he's hurt. He's not the player. He's not the same player. I mean, most of that secondary has been playing hurt all year. Tony Adams went out with a concussion again on Sunday. He's been battling battling concussion issues all year. So this is going to be, it's another one of those years, and for the Jets at least, that has been this has been more frustrating than past seasons. I mean, this is worse than 2020. I remember 2020. That was Tankathon City, and even if the Jets would have gotten Trevor Lawrence in that draft, if they got the number 1 pick and they got Trevor Lawrence, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered because he would have still would have hired Robert Saleh. You still would have had Mike LaFleur calling plays for him, and God knows what he would do with that. And then bring in Nathaniel Hackett. My God.
Oh yeah, forget that.
The same trajectory would have happened if they drafted Trevor Lawrence rather than Zach Wilson. So
yeah, I just hope Woody Johnson has a list of coaches he's preparing to interview.
It's not going to be Woody Johnson. It's going to be Chris Johnson. If our new president doesn't select Woody Johnson to be the UK ambassador again, if he does pick him to be ambassador again, Chris Johnson, his brother, the man who hired Adam Gase on a recommendation from Peyton Manning,
I'm sorry.
believe hates the
sorry.
Jets.
That was my unfiltered reaction. I'm sorry.
No, you are absolutely more than welcome to laugh.
Yeah,
I got to laugh.
I was trying to give you some shining light, and unfortunately, there's no shining light.
Neither one of these brothers are serious owners. There's a bunch of owners in this league I can point at and say, that's not a serious owner. He's not a serious owner. She's not a serious owner. She's also 101 years old. This person's not a serious owner.
Who are you talking about?
Semi-serious owner. There's a number of owners in this league who are not serious owners. They just want to say, "Oh, I own an NFL football franchise," and that's it.
Ryan, I'm a very serious owner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to put curtains up in the stadium. We're going to be all right. Okay, the season is not over. We got Cooper Rush. He's going to do fine.
That's enough of that. That was my response.
I still hate that damn thing.
I think we all do. We all do, Playmaker.
I think we all do too. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. But before we do that, let's give Playmaker a chance to shout out his stuff, where you can find him, where you can find him on social media, where you can find his shows. Go right ahead, Playmaker. Thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it. getting to make my No Credentials Required debut tonight. Tomorrow on the Playmaker Spa YouTube channel, I'll be talking college football. So as soon as I hop off here, I'll be going to look at the updated CFP rankings and get everything set for that, because the way college football has been is getting very, very interesting. Very tight races in these conferences. So 12-team playoff, looking forward to it. And then Thursday, you get to hit the full analysis of what took place on yesterday at SoFi Stadium. And then I will be previewing the New England game. So you can find all my podcasts, our YouTube channel, on anywhere podcasts are available at. You can find me on Facebook, Darnell, Playmaker Sallins. You can find me on Instagram, Playmaker20, and also the same thing on X, Playmaker20.
Don't call it X, call it Twitter, man. We also got to give a shout out to our instructor for this evening. We had a Dustin. I guess I mentioned top of the show. Dustin and I took a quick podcasting course with Tim from the Dropping the Gloves podcast. I actually used to listen to that podcast. I stopped listening to it. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, Dropping the Gloves, great podcast with John Scott. Who, if you're not familiar with him, great story, inspirational story. I have a prediction about that, though. Apparently, we were told that Disney owned the rights to John Scott's story.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they're gonna drop that, and Angel Studios is gonna pick it up, and they're gonna make a bunch of money with that, like they did with Sound of Freedom. So, my fearless prediction. But yeah, Tim, great instructor, taught us a bunch of stuff about podcasting that we may not have known about. So, we want to give a quick shout out to him. I told him out at the bottom of the. Right before we signed off, I said I would give him a shout out in the show tonight, and I did. So, my due diligence.
Nice.
So maybe I'll post that on social media and give him I'll get a thumbs up from them. But in the meantime,
I didn't forget about y'all when it comes to college football. Hope y'all know that. I ain't forget.
We don't. I used to follow it enthusiastically, not so much anymore. I think 2020 took a lot of things I loved and just kind of said and Dustin we try to get Dustin. I tried to get Dustin into it, and he's like, nah, not so much.
Yeah, you try. I mean, I like a lot of the tailgating around it, the atmosphere around it, but I never, I just never got into it. And part of my explanation to Ryan about is I already devote my Sunday to the NFL, and now Thursdays and Mondays too, and I just was like, I want Saturday to be free, because if I really dive in to college football, then I will watch all day, and then I'll do the same thing on Sunday. And I got to keep some separation, and I don't know. I never went to a school. I went with the college where I went. We didn't even have a football team. The big thing where I went was soccer. Maybe if I had a football team, even if it was like D3 or something, I'd care a little bit more, but I just don't. And I didn't grow up. My dad didn't even really follow a football team, period, growing up. So there wasn't one that was passed down to me. So I just never had the passion for it.
Yeah. From what I understand, Playmaker, was it all the Division I teams in Florida?
Yeah, all the Florida teams.
All lost on Saturday for the first time ever?
Yep. And it was going to be a complete sweep until last night happened.
Yeah.
The Florida Panthers won this weekend, so cut that.
Well, and the Miami Dolphins too.
They were talking about Miami Dolphins saved Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I don't think Mike McDaniel. He's not going to last much longer there. He's a great offensive mind, but he can't. His teams can't close games. They can't play in the cold. I know it's a stereotype, but it's a thing. They haven't proven they can do it yet, so people are going to keep saying it until they do.
That's true. All right, we're going to get out of here. Before we do, just want to remind you about our social media channels. Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ. Twitter, Instagram, the scarcely used TikTok @NoCredsREQ. YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. On this podcast side, subscribe to the podcast on your preferred platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and get yourself notified on Twitter and on YouTube. so you know when we're up and running. And forgot to mention some comments before we go. Uncle Al saying Chairface Chippendale. That was the character who tried to put a laser in the moon on the animated series. Tick.
Oh,
That was the name of the villain. I couldn't remember his name.
I had no idea about that.
Jersey G checking in saying, just saw you guys were on. Go Cougars! Go Cougs! The BYU Cougars. She's a big BYU fan. So undefeated still. Uncle Al saying, water finds its level when it comes to Sam Darnold. Yes, nature is starting to heal. Yes, indeed. Wonko has a hot take. Says, can't make heads or tails of the NFC West except that Seattle deserves to be in last place.
They do, Wonko. I know you and I are not happy about it, and I know Staniel's not happy about it, and Kevin Wilson and all the other Seahawk fans out there, but they do. The way they're playing right now, they're outclassed in their own division for sure.
Your Uncle Al saying, how dare you accurately describe the Giants? Also says weak sauce Gardner, and has his hot take of his own about Mike McDaniel. Says Mike McDaniel will go back to his old job, assistant manager at Best Buy.
Oh, can't even get the managerial position, huh?
From the top rope.
Yeah, Uncle Al coming off the top rope with that one.
Jeez. He's keeping it straight out the NFL.
He did, yeah, pretty much. All right, folks, we're going to get out of here. Thank you again for tuning in to No Credentials Required, whether you're watching on replay or you're watching live. Thanks for everybody who commented in this comment section. Again, podcast side, give us a like, give us a review, 5-star rating, all that stuff. We'll be back on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about Thursday night's game. I forgot who's playing. I really don't care either. And we'll review the rest of week 10 in the week 11 in the NFL. We'll preview that. But in the meantime, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again for watching or listening. We'll talk to you again on Saturday.
Good night, everybody.